Do not scroll past this. Stay, just for tonight, and let me finish what I have come to say. Of all the voices calling for you today, this one is mine, and it was meant for one heart, not the crowd, you. My beloved child, I know how tired your hands are. I know how many times today you told someone you were fine, and how far that was from the truth. You have carried something for so long that you no longer call it pain. You call it normal now. You call it simply the way life is. But I have watched you set your smile in place each morning like armor, and I have watched it fall the very moment the door closes and the room goes quiet. I have counted the nights you lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if anyone would even notice if you quietly stopped trying. I noticed. I have always noticed. So do not close this. Do not let the next thing pull you away. Be still, only for a little while, and let me name the thing you have never said out loud. There is a wound in you that you have hidden even from the people who love you. Tonight I am going to speak to it, and I am going to tell you what it truly is. Let me tell you what I see when I look at you. I see someone who learned a long time ago that it felt safer to feel less. Somewhere along the way, the disappointments came so often that you made a quiet decision. You decided you would not hope too loudly anymore. You would not ask for too much. You would keep your heart small so that when the next loss came, it would have less of you to break. And it worked in a way. The sharp pain grew dull. The tears came less often. You told yourself you had finally found peace. But hear me, child. That was not peace. That was numbness wearing peace like a borrowed coat. Real peace is warm. Numbness is only the cold that has stopped hurting. You mistook the silence of a frozen field for rest, when all along the ground beneath it was simply waiting for the spring. I see the wound you never speak of. Maybe it was a person who left and took a part of you with them when they went. Maybe it was words spoken to you when you were young. Words you have replayed 10,000 times since. Maybe it was a door that closed, a dream that died quietly, a prayer you prayed for so many years with no answer that one day you simply stopped praying it. You built your whole day around not touching that place. You arranged your entire life so that you would never have to look at it directly. I see the loneliness too. Not the loneliness of an empty room, the deeper kind. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who have no idea you are drowning. You have become an expert at answering fine when someone asks how you are. You have hidden your heaviest days behind the ordinary words, "Good morning," and "I am well," and no one ever guessed. And slowly, you began to wonder whether you had become invisible, whether you could disappear, and the world would simply close over the space where you had been, the way water closes over a stone. And underneath all of it lies the fear you fear the most. The fear that you have been left behind, that everyone else received their answer, their healing, their turn, while yours was somehow forgotten. That the years slipped past you while you waited, that the best of your life has already gone, and now it is simply too late for someone like you. My child, I have heard every one of those thoughts. Not one of them escaped me. When you cried where no one could see, I was in the room with you. When you woke at 3 a.m. with your chest tight and your mind loud, I was awake with you in the dark. When you whispered, barely believing it, that you were not sure you could keep going, I did not turn away from you. I moved closer. You are not invisible. You have never been invisible. The world may look only at the surface of you, at the tired face and the steady hands, and miss the whole ocean underneath. But I have never once looked only at your surface. I have seen the ocean. I have known the depth of you since before you drew your first breath. So yes, I see the pain, and I named it because you needed someone, at last, to say it out loud and mean it. But I did not come to you tonight to leave you sitting inside it. I did not open this letter only to describe your wound back to you. I came to tell you what I am about to do with it. Before I tell you what comes next, I need you to be sure of one thing. Sure of it the way you are sure the sun will rise, even on the mornings you cannot yet see it. I have never taken my eyes off you. Not for one day, not for 1 hour. There was never a moment in all your years when I looked away and lost track of where you were. When you wandered, I watched. When you grew angry with me and stopped speaking, I stayed near and listened to the silence. When you were certain I had gone quiet because I no longer cared, I was nearer to you than your own breath. The distance you felt was never mine. I never stepped back. I have been here the whole time, watching over a life you were sure no one was watching at all. And I do not ask you to take only my word for it tonight. Long ago I said something to my people, and I want you to hear it now as though I am saying it to you across the room, because I am. In the book of Isaiah, in chapter 43, verse 1, I spoke these words, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine." Sit with that. I did not call you by a number. I did not call for you the way a stranger calls into a crowd, hoping the right face will turn around. I called you by name, the name you have answered to your whole life, the name that was already yours before your mother ever spoke it over you. I knew it, and I chose it, and when I speak it, I am not guessing at who you are. I know exactly who you are, and you are mine. I do not misplace what belongs to me, and there is more I want you to hold on to tonight. In the Psalms, in Psalm 34, verse 18, it is written that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Read that slowly. It does not say, I am near to the strong. It does not say, I draw close only to those who have it all together. It says, I am near to the broken-hearted, which means the very thing you are most ashamed of, the crack running down the middle of your heart, is the exact place where I have drawn the closest to you. Do you understand what I am telling you? Your worst night was not proof that I had left. It was the night I was nearest. The tears you were embarrassed to cry did not push me away. They moved me, and I kept every one of them. Nothing about your suffering was hidden from your Father, and nothing about it ever made me love you less. So the next time the fear whispers that you have been forgotten, you have something to answer it with now. Not a feeling that may fade by morning, but my own words, spoken and written and true. I have called you by name. I am near to the broken. You are mine. And you are not the first of my children to feel abandoned in a lonely place, only to discover that I had been there the whole time. There was a woman once, alone in a desert, certain that her story was already over. Let me tell you what happened to her. Because what I did for her, I am doing for you. Her name was Hagar. She was a servant, a foreigner far from the land of her birth, a woman with very little say over her own life. And when the household she served turned against her, she was sent out into the desert with a boy at her side, a skin of water, and a piece of bread. That was all she was given. No home waiting for her, no road leading anywhere. Only the wide, empty wilderness and the heat of the sun. She walked until the water ran out, and when the last drop was gone, she did the thing that only a mother who has lost every hope can understand. She could not bear to watch her child die of thirst. So she laid him down under a small bush for shade, and she walked a little distance away, far enough that she would not have to see it. And she sat down in the sand, and she wept. She had reached the end of herself. No plan left, no strength left. No prayer polished enough to say. She simply broke. And this is the part I need you to hear, child, because it is the whole reason I am telling you her story tonight. She believed she was alone in that desert. She was not. I had never taken my eyes off her, not for a single step of that long and bitter walk. In the book of Genesis, in chapter 21, verse 17, it is written that God heard the voice of the boy, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said to her, "What troubles you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard." Notice what I called her. I called her by her name. In all that wide and empty place, where she was certain that no one in heaven or on earth knew or cared that she was even alive, I spoke her name out loud. Hagar. The very same way I have been speaking yours tonight. And she had learned something about me once before, in an earlier desert, years before this one. She had given me a name of her own. In the book of Genesis, in chapter 16, verse 13, she called me the God who sees. Thou God seest me, she said. She had discovered, in her lowest place, that I was not a distant God who watched the world from far off and overlooked the small and the forgotten. I was the God who saw one frightened, running servant girl in the middle of nowhere and came down to her. So when she sat weeping beside her dying son, sure that her story would end there in the sand, here is what I did. I did not scold her for her fear. I did not tell her she should have believed harder. I met her tears with my voice, and then I opened her eyes. For in the book of Genesis, in chapter 21, verse 19, it is written that God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water right there beside her. The well had been there the whole time. She had been sitting within reach of her own rescue while she believed she was about to die. She simply could not see it through her tears until I showed it to her. Do you hear yourself in her story? The wilderness you never chose, the strength that finally ran out. The moment you laid your hope down under a bush and walked away from it. And the well, the way forward, the help you needed, sitting nearer than you ever knew, waiting only for the moment I would open your eyes to see it. I saw Hagar. I heard her boy. I called her by name, and I opened her eyes. And I did not let her story end in the sand. And I want you to know it as surely as she came to know it that day. Just as I did for her, so I am doing for you. Now let me answer the question you have carried the longest, the question hiding underneath all the others. Why? Why did I allow it? Why the long wait, the loss, the years that felt wasted? If I saw you the whole time, and I could have stopped it, then why did I let you walk through the fire? I will not give you a small answer, because you have suffered too much for a small answer. But I will give you the truth, and the truth is this. The fire was never me punishing you. Sit with that, because I know it is what you have secretly feared. Somewhere inside, you wondered if the pain was what you deserved, if you were being made to pay for something. Hear me clearly, child. That is not who I am, and that was never what this was. Think of how gold is made pure. It does not become pure by being left alone on a shelf. It is placed into the fire, and the heat draws every hidden impurity up to the surface, and the goldsmith lifts each one away patiently until at last he can see his own face reflected in the metal. The fire was never his hatred of the gold. The fire was his devotion to it. In the book of Job, in chapter 23, verse 10, "My servant said of me, when he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold." He did not say, "I shall be destroyed." He said, "I shall come forth." Through the fire and out the other side, more pure than when he went in. That is what I have been doing in you, in the very years you believed were empty. I was not absent from them. I was working, the way a goldsmith works, patient and unhurried, drawing what was never meant to remain in you up to the surface so that I could lift it away. The bitterness, the fear that had been running your life, the old lie that told you that you were worthless. It was rising to the top only because I had at last drawn close enough to the fire to remove it. And all of it was held inside a plan you could not see. In the book of Jeremiah, in chapter 29, verse 11, I said, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." Weigh every word of that. I know the plans. Not I might have a few. I know them. For your welfare and not for harm. To give you a future and to give you a hope. While you were certain your future had been canceled, I was holding it in my own hands, whole and safe, waiting for the right morning to place it back into yours. So let me lift the shame off you now, the shame you wrap so tightly around your own weakness. You have believed that your tears were a kind of failure, that the days you could barely stand were proof your faith had worn too thin. Child, it is the opposite. It takes far more courage to carry your tears into my presence than to hide them behind a strong and steady face. On the night you finally let yourself weep in front of me, you were not falling apart. You were trusting me with the truth. And that is not weakness. That is where healing begins. You do not have to be strong for me tonight. You do not have to hold yourself together for one more minute to earn my love. You have been carrying a weight you were never asked to carry alone, gripping it so tightly that your hands have forgotten how to open. Let them open now. Lay it down. Resting is not failure. Resting is where I begin the work that you were never able to do for yourself. The world taught you a hard rule. It told you that your worth is something you must earn all over again, every single day. That if you slow down even for a moment, you will fall behind. That rest is a reward you are allowed only after everything is finally finished. And since nothing is ever truly finished, you must never truly stop. You have lived under that rule so long that it feels like the one unbreakable law of the world. But it is not my law. In my house, the rule is turned completely upside down. I do not call the ones who have already proven themselves. I call the tired. Come to me, I said, all of you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. In the book of Matthew, in chapter 11, verse 28, that invitation still stands. And tonight I am speaking it to you by your name. Come to me. Not when you are stronger. Not once you have fixed everything that is broken in you. Now, as you are, tired and unfinished. Come, and I will give you rest. So be still. Let your shoulders down. The world will keep turning tonight without you holding it up. Because you were never the one holding it up. I was. I have kept it turning through every night you lay awake, trying to carry what was always mine to carry. You have done enough for one day. You have done enough for 1,000 days. You can close your eyes now. I do not sleep, and I will not stop watching over you the moment you finally rest. And hear this, because it is a promise and not merely a wish. The long season you have been walking through is coming to its end. The winter that felt as though it would never break is breaking. In that same book of Isaiah, in chapter 43, verse 19, I said, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert." A way in the wilderness, rivers in the desert, in the very place where you were certain that nothing could ever grow again. I am making the ground turn green. It may begin small, a little more peace than you had yesterday, a little more strength, a door you did not expect to find open. Watch for it, and do not measure the size of the coming dawn by how long this night has felt. Now, my beloved child, come close and receive your Father's blessing, for these words were always meant to end here, in the quiet, with my hand resting gently on your head, and my voice the last thing you hear before you sleep. May you sleep tonight the way a small child sleeps in strong and steady arms, with nothing left to fear. May the tightness in your chest come loose. May the heaviness lift off your shoulders the way mist lifts off a field at first light. May you wake tomorrow and remember, before anything else can crowd in, that you are seen, that you are named, that you are held, and that you are never, ever alone. I am your Father. I called you by name before the world began, and I am not about to let go of you now. This letter was for you, only you. And if your heart heard me tonight, if even one word reached the tired place you were sure no one could ever reach, then you do not need to say anything grand in return. Simply breathe it back to me, soft as the flame of a candle. Amen.